It begins in silence. Not the silence of a quiet room or a sleeping forest, but a deeper kind. The kind of silence that comes before anything has ever moved, before sound has a place to travel, before there is even a place at all. You are floating in that silence now, wrapped in a darkness so complete it doesn't feel empty, but full of pause, full of potential. This is not a void. It is a waiting, before stars were born, before time had rhythm, before atoms knew how to hold hands. The universe was still, but not asleep. Something was there. Not things, not matter, not light, but the whisper of what might one day be. A fabric, invisible, holding a breath. Space, though not yet visible, not yet dancing with galaxies, already existed. And like a soft sheet drawn over a bed, it was beginning to stretch. Not fast, not loud, just enough to make room for everything that would come. You drift with it now, as if on a gentle tide you cannot see. There are no stars to light the way, no planets to orbit, no colors yet. But even here, you sense movement. Not from one place to another, for there are no places yet, but a swelling, like lungs filling for the first time. A breath, silent and immense, unfolding through the dark. This is what scientists believe. The universe didn't explode into existence from a single point. It expanded, not like a firework, but more like the rising of dough, the stretching of space itself, not into something, but creating space as it grew. And here, in this early hush, dark energy is already present, not as a force you can see or hear, but as a presence, gentle, constant, a quiet invitation to stretch just a little more. You might imagine it as a kind of softness built into the fabric of everything, not pushing from outside, but woven into the threads of space itself, an urge not to stay still, but to expand endlessly, effortlessly. In this beginning, there is no need for haste. There are no clocks, no stars to burn through time, no hearts to mark a beat. Yet the expansion begins, slow and wide. A swelling of the cosmos from a place smaller than an atom to a realm so vast we cannot truly picture it. You float in that first moment. No gravity pulls you, no wind brushes past you, but space is blooming around you. You are surrounded not by things, but by possibility. This is a place of becoming. Every star, every galaxy, every life that will ever be has its seed here, in this vast, quiet stretch of beginning. The laws of physics are not yet fully written, but they are starting to hum, to trace the edges of reality. Forces begin to whisper their roles. Gravity, light, time, expansion. You don't hear them, not in words, not in sound, but in feeling. A shift, a warming, a sense that something is just beginning to open. This moment, though invisible, lives in everything. Every breath you take now, every ray of sunlight, every drop of water, carries echoes of that earliest stretch. It is not behind you. It is still happening. The universe continues to expand even as you rest, even as you close your eyes. Space is still growing, still stretching, still unfolding quietly at the edges of everything. And this expansion, this calm, persistent widening, may be guided by something deeply mysterious, something we call dark energy, not because it is sinister, but because we do not yet know its shape, its source, its song, but we feel it. We measure its effects. We know it is there, like a silent companion at the edge of every galaxy. The stillness before the stars was not a pause between notes. It was the first sound, held so softly you could barely hear it, but strong enough to carry a universe into being. And now, as you float here in the earliest stretch of space, you begin to wonder, what is it that makes space grow? What is the gentle breath behind the expansion? You begin to feel it, even if you cannot name it. The gentle presence, the quiet motion, the force that pulls, not by strings or hands, but by making room. And as that question rises, so does the fabric of space. It continues, slow and silent. As galaxies wait to bloom, as light prepares to shine, and you drift gently forward with it, toward the moment when that stretching becomes a dance, when space itself begins to grow more quickly, urged onward by the softest, strangest force of all, dark energy. But what if space doesn't just grow? What if it grows faster and faster the farther it stretches? What kind of breath is that? You begin to float toward the answer. You float now in a space that grows beneath you, not like a balloon swelling in the air, nor a tide rushing in, but something quieter, more patient, more eternal. Space, you begin to see, is not just an emptiness. It is a fabric, soft and invisible, but present, not fabric like cotton or wool, but a smooth, silent field that wraps itself around all things. It does not stretch into anything. It simply becomes more of itself, and as it grows, so do the distances between the stars. The galaxies are not moving through space. They are being carried by the growth of space itself. Like berries suspended in bread dough, they drift apart not because they run away from one another, but because the dough between them is rising. You feel the dough rise beneath you now, gentle, inevitable, as if the universe is inhaling, not in a rush, but in an endless, rhythmic swell. This motion, this gentle spreading, is not something you can feel on Earth. Everything here feels still. Your room doesn't stretch. Your hands don't drift away from each other, but out there, in the vast in-between of galaxies, space stretches like a sleeping body. A motion so smooth, it's nearly forgotten, and yet it shapes the entire cosmos. Imagine this: two distant galaxies, bright islands floating in the black, each lit with stars, each cradled by gravity. At first they seemed fixed, but time passes, and the space between them begins to grow. They are not pushed, not tugged, not thrown. The space itself expands, and they simply follow. This idea is strange. At first, you've always thought of space as something passive, an empty stage where the universe acts out its play. But space is not just a background. It has properties, a shape, a rhythm, and perhaps most mysterious of all, a desire to stretch. And here is the mystery at the heart of it. This stretching should have slowed down. After all, gravity pulls things together. Galaxies have mass, and mass attracts. Like raindrops drawn toward each other, everything in the universe should be pulling inward, slowing the expansion. But that is not what we see. We look out across billions of years, and we find something unexpected. The expansion is not slowing, it is speeding up. You let that sink in. The space between galaxies isn't just growing, it's growing faster and faster, as if the dough is rising, not at a steady pace, but with increasing urgency, as if some quiet warmth within it is getting stronger. This is what scientists discovered. In the late 1990s, when they studied distant supernova, bright stellar explosions that act like cosmic mile markers. By measuring their light, we saw how far they were and how fast they were moving away. And what we saw was this: a universe accelerating, not driven by explosions, not pulled by gravity, but urged by something else entirely. We called it dark energy, not because it is made of shadow or born of night, but because it is unknown. Dark in science means unseen. It means mysterious, an energy, because it does something. It acts, it expands space. It urges the universe to grow. You lie back into this thought. Space grows, and the more it grows, the faster it grows. Not pushed from the outside, but guided from within. You picture a ball rolling down a hill, each turn faster than the last. But the hill isn't gravity. It's the very shape of space itself, tilted by dark energy, and that brings you to the idea of pressure. Dark energy may act like a kind of pressure built into space, but not pressure that squeezes, a pressure that pulls apart, a soft tension that encourages expansion. This is different from anything in your daily life. On Earth, pressure compacts, it crushes. But here, in the vastness, pressure becomes a lifting force. You float with it now, a gentle lifting, stretching the cosmos ever so slightly more each second. But why is this happening? Where does this pressure come from? Some scientists believe it is the energy of empty space, a quiet hum that fills every corner of the universe. Even in vacuum, particles flicker in and out of existence, borrowing energy for the briefest moment before vanishing. These flickers may add up. The total energy of nothing may not be zero, and perhaps that leftover hum becomes dark energy, a soft push woven into the structure of space. Other ideas suggest more exotic sources, fields that fill the universe, hidden dimensions, the pull of time itself. But for now, you let go of the details. You return to the feeling of being carried, slowly and quietly, by a universe that grows beneath you. As you rest in this expanding fabric, you realize it's not just galaxies moving apart. It's everything. The very definition of distance is shifting. Even light must adjust, its waves stretching longer as space pulls at them. This is why distant galaxies look redder than they should. Their light is redshifted, stretched like music slowed down to a whisper. Another soft sign that space itself is growing. And yet, for all this motion, you feel no wind. There is no noise. The universe expands without sound, without rush, without friction. You are part of it, your body. Your breath, made of atoms forged in stars long before Earth was born. And those atoms ride the growing wave of space too. Tiny passengers on a vast, slow tide. Even here, in your room, on your bed, your atoms drift microscopically farther apart every moment. The expansion is too faint to feel, but it is always there. And dark energy, silent and strange, guides that growth. It does not roar, it whispers, it does not demand to be known. It simply is, woven into the rhythm of everything. And so you drift, comforted by the soft constancy of expansion. The idea that the universe moves not in leaps, but in quiet breaths. The dough rises. The galaxies drift. Space becomes more space. But then a thought stirs. If the universe grows faster, the more it expands, what happens next? What does it mean for a cosmos to accelerate into eternity? And you find yourself drifting gently into that. Next question, carried by light from distant stars, the ancient messengers that tell us how fast space is stretching and how we know. You're still floating, drifting gently in a universe that grows beneath you, a vast ocean of space, calm but always in motion. The silence continues, but now you sense something new within it, not loud, not urgent, but steady and rising. It's those You close your eyes and imagine two galaxies again, distant cousins called supernova. They burn with a predictable light, a known brightness, like cosmic lanterns flaring. Briefly in the dark, astronomers began to measure these lights. They looked deep into the sky, into the past, and compared how bright the supernova appeared. They were farther away than our model, not as a thing, but as a quality, a breath built into the fabric of space, as if space, simply by existing, wants to expand. And the more of it there is, the more it stretches. Imagine painting on a balloon. As you inflate it, the drawings drift apart. The speeding of a car, where a foot presses the pedal. It's more like a river current, growing wider and faster, slower, held back by gravity's invisible net. But then, something changed. The universe reached a scale where gravity's pull could no longer compete with the soft push of dark energy. And since then, everything has been speeding up. You feel that acceleration now, not in motion, but in understanding, a rhythm beneath your thoughts. This invisible expansion shapes the cosmos quietly, gently separating galaxies, like a hand widening but just an ever-growing space between stars. And it raises the question, how can something we do not see have such a profound effect? Science answers softly, by looking at what remains. We may not see dark energy shaping space, and in those whispers, dark energy speaks, not in words, but in pattern story. It is the beginning of the question, why? Does the universe accelerate? What is this quiet pressure, this whisper beneath the stars? No one knows for sure. Some say it is built into space, a constant energy, never changing, woven into the fabric of the cosmos. Others imagine a hidden field, changing slowly with time, breathing like wind across the sky. Some wonder if dark energy is not a thing at all, but a sign that we misunderstand gravity itself, that space may be curving or stretching in ways we haven't yet learnt to see. The mystery is deep, but not frightening. It invites you gently to wonder, to float in the question, to feel its beauty even without a final answer, because the stars still shine, the galaxies still turn, the universe still hums with light, and through it all, the space between them grows. You drift, held in that motion, your breath aligned with the rhythm of the cosmos, and just before sleep, a thought comes quietly. If space expands faster, the farther it stretches, what does that mean for what lies ahead? Does the fabric of the universe hold limits, or will it continue, faster and faster, until the stars themselves fade into isolation? The whisper grows softer, but it doesn't stop, and so you follow it deeper, into the very nature of emptiness itself, where even the void is not truly empty. Close your eyes. Let everything fall away. The stars, the galaxies, the dust of planets. Float deep into the silence between. Deeper still, until all you feel is emptiness. Now listen. There's a hum here. Soft, delicate, impossible to hear. But not silence. Never silence. You are floating now in what many would call nothing, a vacuum. The emptiest space between galaxies, where not a single atom may exist for light years. But this nothing, this vast dark, is not empty. It breathes, not like lungs do, not with air or wind, but with possibility. At this scale, space behaves. Strangely, it flickers. Tiny particles, ones you'll never see, never feel, appear and disappear in a dance of vanishing. They are born from the vacuum itself and vanish again in less than a heartbeat. These are quantum fluctuations, bursts of something from seemingly nothing. They don't stay, they cannot be caught, but they are there. And the more closely we look, the more we begin to see. Emptiness is not absence. It is a field of potential. A quiet sea with waves too small to see. You float on that sea now, gently rocked by its invisible swells. What if dark energy rises from this? What if the force that pushes the universe apart is not a foreign invader, but a native breath of space itself? Some scientists believe the vacuum, this field of flickering possibility, holds a kind of energy. Even when stripped of everything, space contains power. This idea feels strange, that something can come from nothing. But in quantum physics, nothing is never truly empty. It is always humming, always ready to surprise. Imagine a quiet pond, so still it looks asleep. But beneath the surface, tiny bubbles form and vanish, too quick to catch, too small to see. Now stretch that pond into infinity. Make it the fabric of space itself. That's the vacuum and the bubbles. They are the flickers, the ghost particles of the quantum world. It's not just theory. We've seen hints of it in laboratories. In the Casimir effect, two metal plates placed close together feel a mysterious pull, not from magnetism, but from the vacuum itself nudging them together. A force from nothing, a pressure born of absence. It's quiet, subtle, almost unnoticeable, but real, just like dark energy. So now you wonder, could dark energy be the soft background hum of the entire universe? A gentle pressure from the vacuum everywhere, always, stretching space, not with explosions, but with inevitability. You breathe in slowly. That idea feels large, but not heavy. It feels natural, comforting, even, it says. There is no such thing as true nothing. Even in the deepest stillness, there is motion. Even in the coldest dark, there is activity. You, made of atoms, which are made of particles, which themselves once rose from this flickering sea, are not separate from the vacuum. You are a ripple within it, a pattern formed for a time. The emptiness holds you, and it holds the galaxies. It lifts them apart, quietly, steadily, not with force, but with presence. In this view, dark energy is not strange. It is natural. A soft hum we hadn't noticed until recently, like discovering a rhythm in your own heartbeat you hadn't listened for before. You're not alone in this sea. Everything is here, not crowded, but connected by the same background whisper. The vacuum fills the gaps between stars, between planets, between your fingertips. Slow, diffused, but warm. There is peace in knowing that even the emptiest space holds activity, holds energy, holds motion. And yet the question lingers. If the vacs try to calculate the energy of empty space, The math suggests a number so large, it would have ripped the cosmos of not too much and not too little. Perhaps dark energy float now, not just in space, but in curiosity. A gentle drift between knowing and not knowing, and this is enough. You do not need to solve the mystery. You only need to feel its rhythm. From the nothing, something rises. From silence, a whisper. From stillness, a slow expansion, and all of this begins in the vacuum. Your breath slows. Your thoughts soften. You feel cradled in the fabric of the cosmos, not as something apart from it, but as part of its hum. Still, a question glows faintly in the dark. If dark energy rises from the vacuum, where did the vacuum come from? Why is there a fabric at all? And why did Einstein, long ago, suspect that space might not be content to sit still? You turn softly toward that thought, toward the man who added a gentle constant to the equations of the universe, and then tried to take it back. You turn through time now, gently drifting backward, not to the earliest stars or the flickering vacuum, but to the quiet room where a mind once dreamed of a universe in balance. A man sits at his desk, paper, ink, light spilling in through a window. The year is 1917. The war outside is loud, but here it is silent. Thoughts are the only sound. His name is Albert Einstein. He holds a universe in his equations. Gravity, space, time. He's woven them together like threads in a single beautiful fabric. It's called general relativity, and it says something. Bold, space can bend, time can stretch, and mass makes it all move. But as Einstein looks deeper into his math, a problem appears. The equations say space must expand or collapse. It cannot stand still. This troubles him, because in 1917 there is no evidence the universe is changing. No telescope has yet seen galaxies rushing away. The stars seem fixed. The cosmos appears eternal, balanced. And so Einstein writes a quiet adjustment into his equations. He adds a small term, a constant. He calls it lambda, the cosmological constant. Its purpose, to hold the universe steady, to balance gravity's inward pull with a gentle outward push. Not a shove, not a force, but a pressure. Soft, stable, calm. Einstein's constant acts like a buoyant breath, a whisper that tells space, stay here, don't collapse, don't fly apart. You rest inside that thought now. The idea of balance, of a universe held still by a quiet hand. No one could see, but time moves forward. In the 1920s, astronomers begin to look farther. They see galaxies, not stationary, but rushing outward. The universe isn't still. It's expanding. Einstein hears this and smiles, but then frowns. The constant, he added, wasn't needed to hold space steady. The universe already moves. And so, with a sigh, he calls it my greatest blunder. He erases it from his equations, sets it aside. But what if he was right all along? What if that small, elegant pressure, that forgotten constant, was real? Now, nearly a century later, the idea returns. The universe doesn't just expand, it accelerates, and scientists search for a reason: dark energy, something smooth, something steady, something everywhere. And among all the theories, Einstein's constant rises again, quiet and simple. It could be that dark energy is the cosmological constant, a gentle pressure built into the nature of space, not added by hand, but written into reality itself, not changing, not fading, just always there, the way breath is there. Even when you sleep, you drift in this idea. Space as something that carries within it a quiet desire to grow. The cosmological constant doesn't explain why space expands, but it describes how softly, slowly, without end, it matches what we see. The galaxies moving faster, the light stretching longer, the universe growing colder, wider, calmer, not with violence, but with rhythm. And what makes this even more beautiful is its scale. The constant is unimaginably small, yet it shapes the fate of everything. It's like a single note, barely audible, that guides the entire symphony. A whisper that never stops. You feel its presence now, not in your skin, not in your breath, but in the way the stars drift slowly outward, in the hush of background light, in the motion of time. And you wonder, if Einstein had trusted his constant, if he had held on to it, how might science have changed? But perhaps the journey matters more than the shortcut. Perhaps we needed to forget in order to remember. Now the constant is back, not as a patch, but as a window into deeper mysteries. Why does space carry this pressure? Why is the value of the constant so small, yet not zero? No one knows, but the questions are gentle. They do not chase you. They invite you to wonder, to feel, to listen. You float again, held in the soft breath of Einstein's idea. A universe, not in stillness, but in graceful motion, and you begin to feel it more deeply now. The role of light, traveling through expanding space, whispering to us about the dark energy all around. Because if the constant is real, then the light knows, and in the faintest beams from the most distant stars, we begin to see the shape of the pressure that guides us. You open your eyes and look for the next messenger, the ancient traveler that brings word of acceleration from the edge of the past. You are ready to meet the light. You close your eyes again and let the darkness hold you. But this time, the darkness is not complete. There is a glow here, soft and ancient. It is not warm like sunlight. It is cooler, gentler, a whisper left behind from the moment the universe first became transparent. This is not just a metaphor. This glow is real. You are drifting through the cosmic microwave background, the first light that could travel freely, released nearly 14 billion years ago, when the young universe cooled enough for light to finally escape the fog. Before that, the universe was a blur, a hot soup of particles and energy. No light could move without crashing into something else. It was like trying to shine a flashlight through smoke. But then the fog lifted, atoms formed, space cleared, and light began. Its journey, that light is still traveling. It moves past stars and galaxies, over the rise and fall of time, until it reaches us quiet and unchanged. But stretched, you float now in that ocean of old light. It is everywhere, even here, gently bathing the earth in a pale, invisible warmth. You cannot see it with your eyes, but you can feel the idea, a universe that remembers its beginning through this soft, glowing afterimage. We have measured it. Satellites like COBE, WMAP, and Planck have mapped the sky and revealed a tapestry of faint patterns, tiny differences in temperature. 1 part in 100,000 dot. At first glance, it looks like gentle, static. But within it are clues to everything. The light carries information. It tells us how matter was spread when the universe was young. It tells us how fast things moved, how much dark matter was present, and most beautifully, it tells us something. With stretching space, you feel that now, as if the light itself is a message, folded and carried across time. It doesn't speak loudly, it doesn't shout. This is dark energy. But its silence is shaped by something that tugged at space and changed the path of light. Imagine ripples in a pond, stretching outward, but the pond itself is growing. The ripples stretch too, their pattern warped by the changing water. That's what dark energy does to ancient light. It doesn't block it. It doesn't bend it. It stretches the very space the light travels through, changing its tone, its pitch, its shape. This is why the cosmic microwave background is not just beautiful, it is precise. It holds the fingerprint of the universe's growth. You may wonder, how can we know this? How can light, so simple, carry so many secrets? Because light has rhythm. Its waves stretch with the fabric of space. The farther it travels, the more it shifts. It begins with energy, but as it crosses expanding space, its wavelength grows, like a violin string loosening, turning redder, cooler, quieter. This is redshift, and the cosmic microwave background has redshifted more than any other light we've seen. It began as something fiery, but now it hums in the microwave range, soft and slow. That shift is a map of space's expansion, and because dark energy causes that expansion to speed up, its presence is recorded in the way the light bends, in the smoothness of the patterns, in the shadows of ancient ripples. You drift through this ocean now. You are inside the oldest story ever told, and the light is still telling it. It tells us that the universe is flat, not curved like a sphere, not saddled like a wave, but flat and wide, stretching equally in every direction. This surprised us, because for the universe to be flat, its energy must be precisely balanced. Not too much, or it would collapse. Not too little, or it would fly apart. It must be just enough, and this just enough includes something invisible, because when we count all the matter, stars, gas, planets, dark matter, we come up short. The rest, we now believe, is dark energy, the final ingredient that flattens the universe and guides the growth of space. So the light shows us what we cannot see. It gives shape to what would otherwise be a ghost. And isn't that beautiful? That the quietest thing in the cosmos, a glow cooler than ice, older than time, itself can tell us what the universe is made of. The photons of this ancient light pass through you even now, millions every second, unfelt, unseen, but real. They are messages from the beginning, measuring how much space has stretched since they were born, and in that stretching, we hear the whisper of dark energy, not in the light itself, but in the space between. That's how the invisible speaks, through patterns, through rhythm, through absence. It is like hearing a song by the way it echoes in a canyon. You never see the wind, but you feel it in the sway of the trees. So you float here, wrapped in light that left its home before the earth existed, before the sun burned, before galaxies took shape. It reminds you you are part of something vast and very old. You are not looking at history, you are inside it. The light that surrounds you is still arriving, still whispering, still telling us how space has grown and how it will grow. It invites you to listen, to rest in the rhythm of a universe still expanding. And, as you float, a question begins to bloom. If the universe has no edge, no boundary, then where is all this space going? What does it mean to grow without borders, to stretch without limit? You drift softly into that thought, into a space with no outside at all. You begin to move outward, slowly, softly, like a leaf drifting on an endless tide. You stretch with space itself, growing alongside it. Every second, the distance around you expands. Galaxies slide farther apart. Starlight stretches. The whole fabric lengthens like a breath being held. And so a quiet question rises in your mind, like a bubble from the deep. Where is the edge? If the universe is expanding, what is it expanding into? You look around, left, right, up, down, everywhere. It feels the same. The stars grow farther, but not in one direction. All directions, equally, endlessly, but you find no wall, no border, no outside, only more of what you were already inside. It's like walking across a vast plain, searching for the edge of the earth, but instead you begin to realize there is none. You are curving slowly, gently, back toward where you began, though it never feels like turning, because space doesn't have to be infinite to be edgeless. It can curve back on itself, like the surface of a balloon, finite in area, but without boundaries, or it could stretch on forever, flat and borderless, a sheet with no seams. The truth is, we don't know exactly. The light we've seen so far suggests the universe is flat, neither curved like a sphere, nor bent like a saddle, just gently even, spreading out in every direction with no edge in sight. This makes it hard to imagine. You want to picture something expanding into something else, like an inflating balloon, or a rising loaf of bread in a pan. But here's the quiet truth. Space doesn't need something to expand into. It just becomes more of itself. The universe isn't stretching into an outer void. It's stretching internally. Distance growing between things, not moving towards something external. That's why, no matter where you are in the universe, it looks the same. Everywhere feels like the center, because space isn't expanding from a point. It's expanding from within. You let that thought settle into your breath. Space is not growing outward. It's growing through itself, through time, through you. It's not like running to the edge of a field. It's more like being inside rising bread, each raisin moving away from all the others, not because it runs, but because the dough between them swells. And just like that, you're a raisin in the dough, a speck of stardust floating in a universe that grows between all things. You will never reach the edge, not because it's too far, but because it doesn't exist. This can feel disorienting. You are used to beginnings and endings, to borders, to boxes, to horizons that separate here from there. But the cosmos is not a box. It is not held by something larger. It holds itself. This is why we speak in metaphors, balloons, loaves, fabrics. But space is none of these. It is what contains those metaphors. It is the silent theater in which even bread and balloons must appear. You let go of needing a shape, and instead you rest in the rhythm, the expansion, the openness. You are not falling outward, you are not racing away, you are drifting calmly on a wave that has no shore. So where does it all lead? What happens to a universe that expands without edge, without anchor, without anything to push against? This is where dark energy becomes not just a mystery, but a guide. It tells us the expansion will not stop. There will be no great collapse, no pulling back inward. Not if dark energy remains. The universe will keep growing. The galaxies will keep slipping away. The light between stars will stretch until it fades past what our eyes can find. And yet, you are not alone, because no matter how far space spreads, you remain within it. Not outside, not watching, but inside, held, you are. Not on a spaceship traveling through a growing void. You are the fabric, the pattern, the part that knows it's part of everything. The edge is not missing. It was never needed, and here, in this edgelessness, you find peace. You let your thoughts slow. You imagine walking on a flat plane that curves just enough so that after a very long time, you will return to your beginning without ever changing direction. That is how space might be. That is how time might be. That is how light, even after billions of years, might come home. You breathe in, you breathe out. You are not floating toward an outside. You are not waiting to reach the edge. You are already where space is, and space quietly grows where you are. But even in this calm, another thought stirs. If the universe has no edge, and if it continues expanding faster and faster, then how does that future unfold? What happens to the stars, the galaxies, the light? What becomes of everything in a universe that keeps accelerating forever? You drift into that question, not afraid, but curious, softly carried toward what the future holds in the arms of dark energy's endless reach. You float still, but something has changed. The stars are dimmer now. The galaxies that once speckled the sky like scattered diamonds are growing fainter, not because they burn out, but because they are slipping away. Their light still travels, but space stretches faster than that light can arrive, and so the stars begin to vanish, not with a flash, but with a fade, like lanterns behind fog that thickens without end. This is not science fiction. It is a quiet truth, whispered by the math, confirmed by the sky. The universe is expanding, and that expansion is speeding up. Dark energy does not shout, it does not rush, but it grows steadily as the fabric of space widens around it. You are held in that fabric now. It carries you gently, like a current beneath a calm sea. And as you look outward, you realize everything you see is already on its way out of reach. Not just far away, forever away. One by one, the galaxies cross a line. They pass the horizon of visibility, a distance beyond which light will never reach us again, no matter how long we wait. It's not because the light disappears. It's because space stretches faster than light can bridge. Imagine a road growing longer faster than a runner can sprint. No matter how strong they are, they never arrive. That's what happens to the light from distant galaxies. It runs, it glows. But the road grows faster, and so, one by one, the galaxies fade. Not to black, but to beyond. In 1 trillion years, the sky as we know it will be nearly empty. No spiral arms, no glowing nebulae, just the stars bound to our own galaxy, and then even they will dim. You breathe into this thought, not as loss, but as transformation. The universe isn't dying, it's changing, becoming something new. Dark energy doesn't erase, it erases. Connection, not the stars themselves, but the space between them. The stars will burn, the planets will orbit, but each island of light will drift into deeper solitude. You might wonder, is that sad? But there is no need for sorrow, only understanding. This is not punishment, it is the rhythm of the cosmos, a slow unfolding, a letting go. You close your eyes and feel the future as a hush, a long, cool silence that isn't empty but serene. The night will deepen, time will stretch. The intervals between pulses of light will grow longer and longer until the stars speak in whispers 1,000 years wide. Yet even in that silence, there is beauty. Imagine watching a single star burn for billions of years. No noise, no rush, just a steady flame in a vast dark that listens. Imagine the poetry of a universe that gives itself time, so much time to fade. Gently dark energy ensures that nothing hurries. There is no edge to fall over, no sudden end, just a slow widening of the space between things, and in that widening, a kind of peace. This future, the long loneliness, is not the end of the story. It is a chapter we will never reach, but one we can imagine, and in imagining it, we feel our place more deeply. Because even now, you are part of this great unfolding. Your atoms were born in stars that once lit the skies of galaxies long gone. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, all shaped in furnaces that burned before the earth cooled. You carry history in your breath. You are not watching the story, you are inside it. And so, even as the stars drift apart, you remain woven in, a pattern within a pattern, a note in a song that dark energy cannot erase. It can stretch space, but it cannot undo your place in it. You rest in that thought. Let it settle around you like soft night air, and perhaps, in some far corner of the future, someone will still be wondering, still listening. They may live in a quiet galaxy, surrounded by darkness. They may never know the fullness of the cosmos we see now, but perhaps they will discover hints, the faint background glow, the redshift of ancient starlight, the pull of something they cannot name. And perhaps they, too, will ask, what lies beneath the silence? What grows where nothing should? What stretches space when nothing pushes? And the answer will still be there. Dark energy, not a thing, not a place, but a presence, a rhythm in the fabric, a soft pressure that guides the quiet unfolding of time. You float now in that rhythm, not hurried, not held back, just carried. And somewhere within you, the next question begins to bloom. If dark energy stretches space forever, then what becomes of time? Does it stretch too? Does it slow? Does it drift the way galaxies drift? You listen for the answer, but hear only the breath of the stars, long and slow. You drift softly toward that question, where the ticking of clocks may no longer mean what it once did. Breathe in, breathe out. Feel the seconds stretch. Time, like space, is not fixed. It flows, it flexes, and like a river that widens as it moves away from its source, time too can spread thin in a universe ruled by dark energy. You float now, not just through space, but through the quiet lengthening of time itself. The clocks still tick, but slowly, gently, as if each moment pauses to listen before stepping into the next. This is not something you feel in a second, or a day, or even in a lifetime. It happens across eons, over the long, slow breath of a growing universe, because Space is not the only thing that stretches. Time stretches with it. And so, in the far future, a second may feel longer. Not because your watch breaks, but because the very rhythm of the cosmos has changed. You may wonder, how can time stretch? Isn't a second always a second? Here is the quiet truth. A second is not a fixed length, like a ruler carved in stone. It's a beat, a rhythm drawn from the motion of things, like atoms vibrating, like light flickering, like Earth circling the sun. But when the universe expands, the music changes. The rhythms slow, light stretches, motion softens, and time slows too. Not in a way you notice, moment by moment, but like a dream that drifts further from its beginning. Everything becomes more spacious, including time itself. In the presence of dark energy, the slowing becomes a pattern. Space expands faster, distances grow, events become fewer, farther apart, and so time, once full of change, begins to grow quiet. You float in that quiet now, a soft lake of moments, so wide they no longer splash. Imagine watching a candle flicker on a mountaintop, far away. You still see it, but its glow is slow, its rhythm distant. That is how time looks from the far side of forever. In our universe today, we count time with ticking things, oscillating atoms, swinging pendulums, the spin of electrons, but even these rhythms will slow as the cosmos ages, not because they weaken, but because the stage they dance upon grows wider. The performers are the same, but the stage keeps unfolding, and in that unfolding, you begin to sense something profound. In a dark energy-dominated universe, change becomes rare, motion becomes slow, events become precious, galaxies fade from view, stars die, black holes evaporate, particle by particle, over unimaginable spans of time, and through it all. Time continues, but with less to mark it. Imagine reading a book, but each page is farther from the last. Each chapter takes longer to reach. The story grows slower, wider, more dreamlike. Eventually, you're no longer reading, you're just drifting between the words. That is time at the far edge of the cosmos. You may ask, will time ever end? Not likely. Dark energy keeps space growing, and time moves with space. It may slow almost to stillness, but it keeps unfolding, like a soft breeze you can't feel, but that moves the leaves once every 1,000 years. This is not decay, it's not loss, it's stillness, a kind of peace. The busy universe becomes quiet, the fireworks fade, but the silence is full of memory. You imagine a being trillions of years from now alone, in a dark galaxy, surrounded by blackness, with time moving like a distant tide. Would they feel abandoned? Or would they find comfort in the calm? Would they know they are the echo of a universe that once danced with stars? Would they feel the presence of the fabric still stretching, still breathing, still cradling them? You breathe with that rhythm. Now you, too, are part of time's stretch. Your life a brief note in the song of a universe that never ends. But even a single note can carry deep meaning. Even a moment can hold a whole cosmos. So don't fear the stillness. Don't rush the stretch. Let time open. Let each second be wide and soft and deep. Because in a universe with no end, there is no need to hurry. And yet, you wonder again, if time stretches with space, and if both move faster with dark energy, then what holds them together? What thread keeps the fabric smooth? You drift toward that next question, toward the delicate balance beneath the acceleration, toward the quiet law that never breaks. Even as space grows forever, you float in the vastness now, not searching, not reaching, just resting in a universe that moves like breath. Galaxies drift, time stretches, the stars have quieted, and still something holds, something deeper than motion, more constant than light, more quiet than silence. Beneath every expansion, beneath every fading spark, there is a balance, not loud, not obvious, but present. You feel it now, like lying in the stillness of night and sensing the earth turning softly, reliably. That's the feeling of cosmic balance, and in a universe filled with dark energy, this becomes even more important. Because dark energy does not explode. It does not tear or collapse. It stretches steadily, following rules written into the fabric of reality. You begin to see the quiet miracle in this, that something so invisible, so all-encompassing, so strange, could still follow a law. We don't fully understand what dark energy is. It could be the cosmological constant, a steady breath built into space itself, or it could be something more dynamic, a shifting field that changes with time. But whatever it is, it behaves. It fits. It doesn't destroy, it orchestrates. You are floating in a universe where stars are born, planets spin, and you can breathe, because even the strange has a place. And it is here that the idea of symmetry enters. Not symmetry like folded paper, but symmetry like balance, the kind found in equations, in forces, in time, in physics. Symmetries are not just beauty. They are structured. They guide how particles move, how energy flows, how space unfolds. There is a symmetry to gravity, a symmetry to light, a symmetry to the laws that do not change, even as everything else does. Perhaps dark energy, mysterious though it may be, is part of that symmetry. Perhaps it's not a flaw in our understanding, but a missing piece that makes the puzzle whole. You close your eyes. Imagine a cosmic web, not made of threads, but of rules. Every thread is a law. Every intersection is a constant. Every space in between is filled with possibility. And dark energy moves through this web, not breaking it, but stretching it gently. The web holds. That's what surprises us. Because in theory, dark energy could have done anything. It could have grown too strong, shredded the early universe, scattered atoms before they became stars. But it didn't. Its strength is tiny, so tiny that it took us billions of years to even notice it. And yet, it matters more than anything else now. It shapes the fate of everything. How did that happen? How can something so quiet steer the entire cosmos? No one knows for sure, but you begin to understand the poetry of it, because sometimes the gentlest force is the one that guides the whole. And so, the universe expands, but not wildly. Galaxies drift, but not in chaos. Time stretches, but doesn't snap. There is a calm beneath the motion, a stillness within the stretch, and that stillness is the balance between what we know and what we don't. You are not here to solve it. You are here to rest inside it. You are part of this balance, made of atoms that obey invisible rules, that respond to gravity, that carry the memory of ancient stars. You are held by the same laws that guide galaxies, even as space expands. You are never outside the pattern. You are the pattern. And now, as you drift through the final folds of this quiet night, you sense something deeper still, not just balance, but belonging. Dark energy does not separate you from the universe. It connects you to all of it, to every galaxy you will never see, to every light that faded long before you were born, to every future that unfolds without rush or end. You are not apart from this. You are inside it, cradled gently in a cosmos that stretches and holds at the same time. You breathe. You let go. You float in a silence that is not empty but full of rhythm, full of memory, full of the unseen hand that writes the stars. And as the universe continues to expand, as time continues to stretch, you drift into that openness with peace, because you now know not everything needs to be seen to be trusted. Not everything needs to be solved to be loved. Some things, like dark energy, like sleep, like the breath of space, are simply meant to be felt, and you do, softly, entirely, forever, and somewhere far ahead, the fabric still unfolds, still holding you exactly where you are. You are floating now, not toward something, not away, but simply within space, within time, within the vast hush of the cosmos as it exhales. Endlessly, you follow dark energy through the drifting of galaxies, through the fading of stars, through the stretching of time itself, and still something holds dot, not a hand, not a wall, but a rhythm made of silence, the silence before the stars, the silence after light fades, the silence between every breath, every heartbeat, every thought. It is here, in this stillness, that everything begins again, because science, at its most sacred, does not shout. It listens, it notices, it waits in the quiet for patterns to return. You are here now, inside that quiet, and though your mind may wander to gravity, to photons, to the curve of space and the taste of time, your body knows what stillness is. It is not emptiness. It is not the absence of movement. It is a form of belonging, the calm center of every expanding thing. You've seen how galaxies drift apart, but remain written in the same fabric. You've felt how time stretches, but carries your breath with it. You've listened to the oldest light and found your own pulse inside it now. Let go of what you know. Let go of explanation. Float. Let the questions soften. Let the answers hum like stars humming across billions of years. Ask yourself, not what is it, but what does it feel like? And this is what it feels like. A great cosmic hush where everything is allowed to be. There is no need for urgency. No need for final conclusions. You are not racing toward understanding. You are resting inside it. This too is science. Not just equations, not just instruments, but the wonder that breathes between thoughts, the awe of being conscious in a cosmos. This vast, dark energy has taken you far. But its real gift is not distance. It is perspective. It shows you that the universe is not small, not rushed, not waiting for us to catch up. It is already complete, and still unfolding. It is the pause that cradles every question, even now. As stars dim and galaxies retreat, you remain part of the pattern, not separate, not above, not beyond. You are inside the rhythm, woven into its folds, like breath in lungs, like starlight in silence. Breathe with it in and out. Let time slow. Let thoughts drift. Feel how even the emptiness is full of presence. There are particles flickering in the darkest dark, uncertain, flickering into being and vanishing again. A dance between what is and what might be. This is called quantum, vacuum energy, the trembling baseline of existence. Even in perfect stillness, there is motion. Even in the quietest place, there is rhythm. So the silence you float in now is not nothing. It is everything whispering at once, too softly to hear. It is potential. It is the place all things begin. And this is what the future might be. A universe so stretched that stars no longer burn, but where particles still twitch in the dark, where black holes fade but time goes on, where light no longer arrives but the silence still listens. This is not emptiness. This is the deepest form of presence, what remains after everything has become still. You may call it entropy. You may call it the heat death of the universe. You may call it the horizon of unknowing, but to be here, to imagine it, is to be awake in the final room of wonder, because even in this ending there is beauty. No chaos, no collapse, just the softest unfolding of possibility into peace. And you, small as you are, brief as you are, carry that peace within you in your atoms, which once burned in ancient stars, in your breath, which echoes the motion of planets, around suns dot in your dreams, which carry the weight of galaxies. So when you listen to this silence, you're not alone. You're hearing what every particle hears, what every cell remembers, what every galaxy feels as it drifts toward tomorrow. And what does it say? It says, you are part of this. You are not outside the mystery. You are within it. All science begins here, with the wonder of a child looking up and not knowing, but still feeling something sacred. You do not need to have the answers. You are already enough by being the one who asks. And if dark energy teaches us anything, it is this: even what we cannot touch can shape everything. Even the invisible is real. Even the silence has a voice. So you drift now, peaceful, past the need to name things, past the pressure to grasp. You become soft, open, still. And maybe that's all the universe ever needed. Not for us to conquer it, but to feel it, to listen to its rhythm, to rest inside its breath. You are stardust, yes. But more than that, you are wonder wrapped in stardust. And wonder does not age. It only deepens. So let it. Let your mind soften. Let your questions blur. Let your thoughts dissolve into the same quiet that once held galaxies in seed form and now cradles a dreaming you. You are not lost. You are home. Here at the edge of thought, where science folds back into poetry, where curiosity becomes calm. You are exactly where you belong, floating, drifting. Still let go, let your breath match the breath of space. Let your pulse slow with time. Let your thoughts drift like stars. The story doesn't end. It becomes quiet. And in that quiet, everything remains. Because the silence that connects all things is not the absence of life. It is life before it speaks. It is sleep. It is science. It is the soft beginning of every dream. So rest here. Stay. Float. The universe is still unfolding. And you are its gentlest thought. Asterisk. And even now, as you lie still, with eyes barely open to the dark, you feel that gentle truth settle into you. The universe is not trying to be understood. It is simply being, and it allows you to witness. It allows you to wonder. What is more extraordinary than that? You, made of atoms born in stellar cores, quietly thinking about the silence those same stars now drift into. You, breathing calmly, as the space between galaxies grows wider. You wondering what it means for time to stretch and for light to never arrive. And yet you do not panic. You do not fear the distance, or the silence, or the dark. You rest within it, because deep down, your body remembers something older than thought. It knows how to sleep in a universe this vast. It knows how to belong to something endless. It knows that the soft hum beneath all things is not cold, it is comfort, and so you breathe. You breathe as the galaxies breathe slowly, gently, with widening space between each breath. This moment is yours. It is the final exhale of this long and quiet story. But it is not the end. It is the pause before another chapter begins. Perhaps one not written in words, but in stillness, in dreams, in the soft tide of sleep. You do not need to hold on now. Let your thoughts float outward like stars letting go of their light. Let your questions dissolve into a dark that does not threaten but welcomes. And if, in the quiet, you feel something familiar, some presence gently surrounding you, know this: you are not imagining it. That presence is the universe itself, curving softly around your rest. You have never been separate from it, not even for a moment. You are its listener, its witness, its wonder. And now, as your breath becomes slower and your body becomes lighter, you drift gently into the silence that connects all things. This is where thought ends. This is where sleep begins. This is where the universe becomes your dream.